Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Please let me respect even the chief abbot and the other senior monks of the temple and all my teachers this time. Today, 2nd of October 2021, we have embarked on a very special journey, that is having this non-residential retreat. And most of you are newcomers, and this is going to be a great beginning in your spiritual path. So we have practiced mindfulness for the full day from 8 o'clock in the morning. Now this last 1 hour is allocated to support the practice. Buddha has mentioned when you go on the path, walk on the path, it is necessary to support. He has given 5 supportive factors. Of those 5 supportive factors, 2 are listening supportive factor and discussion supportive factor. There are 3 others which I'm not going to take now. Discussion supportive factor we have already done a little while ago. Now this is the time for listening supportive factor. Why we have listening supportive factor is to gain new knowledge, probably which you may have not heard in the past. And also it lets you confirm the experiences that you have walking on the path, and also helps you to clear your doubts and straighten your views. You may have different viewpoints on certain things. You can discuss, or you can listen to these things and you can straighten them. And also, although you may not have any of these things, the last one is the happiness that you gain by listening to undisputed universal wisdom of the Buddha. So for this listening supportive factor, I have selected a sutta or discourse of the Blessed One. The name of the discourse is Vajjiputta Discourse. It is available in the numerical section of the canon. So it's a very interesting one. And in this discourse, Vajjiputta means a clan that was there in India those days. Someone from that clan has ordained, and this particular monk has come and discussed with the Blessed One and says, I'm unable to adhere to more than 150 monastic rules that we recite on a fortnightly basis. So it's a very interesting situation. A disciple is coming straight to the teacher and tells that he can't do it. And it is not like that in some other denominations. You are given and you must do it. But here, it's so democratic. The opportunity is there. So the Buddha says, that's all right. Can you adhere to 3? And he said, oh, of course. 3 is simple. It's a bargain. So he has accepted 3. And then Buddha said, the 3 rules or 3 things that you will have to stick to are the training in and living by the heightened virtue, and training in and living by the heightened mind, training in and living by the heightened discernment. Then the Vajjiputta monk said, okay, and he worked accordingly, and he attained the final um, attainment, which is arahanthood. So I have taken these three items: virtue, mind, and discernment, training in and living by them, because we have 3 days, so I can take each one of them on every day. So today's topic, therefore, is heightening the virtue and training in them and how you live by them. So first, we will have to understand what virtue is, as its word suggests. Virtue means the moral conduct or ethics or the social norms, right? But here, when I say the social norms, not every social norms, virtue should be universally acceptable. So the deciding criteria is whether it is beneficial to you and to others, or put it in a different way, whether it is harming you and harming others is something that you will have to consider, whether it's a real ethic, then only it will be universally accepted. So on that basis, in Buddhism or in Buddha's teaching, even before Buddha, these were there. For lay people, the basic is the 5 precepts, which all of us probably know. Refrain from killing, refrain from taking what is not given, refrain from sexual misconduct, refrain from lying, refrain from taking intoxicants, right? So today in this program, we have gone a bit further. We have taken 8 precepts that lay people would observe in their daily living. So in that, we have dropped the last one, which is refrain from taking intoxicants. Instead, we have included 4 others, which is refrain from frivolous talks, refrain from swearing, refrain from gossiping, and refrain from engaging in wrong livelihood. So I'm not going to explain those things in detail, because I will have to talk a bit more about the significance of virtue and how our practice is supporting, or how the virtue fits in our practice, because that is our main aim. Because we don't really give a huge importance to the virtue, but we give a huge importance to our practice, which is practicing mindfulness. So if I go again to the number of precepts, and also we have another advanced higher precepts called 8 precepts on that you observe on full moon for your days. Or you can go even for lay people, you can take 10 precepts. And also, if you are a novice monk like me, you will have 10 precepts again, plus 75 rules. And for full ordination, there are 227 for monks, there is male, and 311 for nuns. So this is why, no doubt, that Vajjaputta monk is crying, who can adhere to 211 precepts, 227 precepts. So obvious, but Buddha has given him a shortcut, and the Blessed One is encouraging him to take the monastic life further. So what does it really do? What does virtue actually do? It avoids transgressing the universal law. So in other words, it doesn't harm you, it doesn't harm others. So therefore you call it transgressional defilements. So you will avoid any transgressional defilement. Transgressional means you don't go beyond a certain limit. And when you look at these precepts are basically disciplining your physical and verbal deeds, right? So you're physically, verbally, you become a better human being. So that is the significance of precept. And not only that, when you observe precepts, you offer fearlessness to the universe. No animal will be afraid of you, or we have fear from you because you don't kill them, and others will not fear that you will steal their wealth or property, or others will not have fear because you will not engage in sexual misconduct, and others will know that you don't lie and cheat them. And since you don't take intoxications, you will not be a violent man. So you take away the fear of other people when you observe precepts. So, and for the same reason, you get the same thing back. You will also not have to be afraid of anything. You are protected by others. Protecting, when you protect others protect you, and that is the law of nature. So therefore, when you protect yourself in this manner, there is no self condemnation. If you break any of the precepts, although you can cover that up from the whole world, you can't cover it from yourself. You will be scolding, blaming, and repenting on it every time. So there will have self condemnation when you do something bad or when you break a precept. But the other thing is, when you observe them, there is no condemnation by others as well. If you break a precept, others will say, okay, he's a murderer, he's a robber, he's a womanizer, and all sorts of names will be called. But if you observe precepts, others also will not condemn you. And also, you will not have any fear of punishment. You will not have to go to courts, or you will not be fined, or you will not put in jail or anything as such, because you are a disciplined human being. Now, the last one is, there will not have any fear of going to the netherworld, underworld, because you don't misbehave in your physical and verbal actions. So when I take this last point of going to the netherworld, it reminds me of another discourse that the Blessed One has preached, and its name is Sanka Dhamma discourse. And in that discourse, it's a conversation between a disciple of Nigantanatha Putta, and the disciple's name is Asibandhu Putta Gamini. Nigantanath means was also another teacher that was teaching in India during the time of Buddha. And it is said that the outward appearance of the two personalities are almost the same, right? But Nigantanatha Buddha was strong, non-violent believer, but whereas Buddha had a very different approach to it. So it's a nice conversation between that disciple of Nigantanatha Buddha, whose name is Gamini, and Buddha. So when the two met, greeted each other, and then Buddha is asking Gamini, how does your teacher teach the doctrine to his disciple? Then Gamini says, he mentions all these precepts, killing, robbing, and sexual misconduct and all that. And then he says, all those who break precepts destined for a state of deprivation. or hell, in other words. Whatever one does frequently leads to one's next birth. So Buddha was listening to this very carefully. And then he says, if that is the case, if you take on the time scale, using the word frequent, tell me which time is more. Is the time breaking precept or more, or not breaking precept is more for any person? Then he thinks for a while, and Gandhi says, of course, Lord, even if you kill, even if you rob, even if you lie, even if you engage in sexual misconduct or take intoxication, you are not doing that 24/7. Yeah, will have most of the time you will not be doing it. So then Buddha says, if that is the case, although your teacher says you will go to netherworld because you do it frequently, no one is going to netherworld because when you take frequency of not doing is higher than doing a wrong thing. So therefore, nobody will be going. Then Gamini agrees and understands that his teaching or his teacher is not very correct. Then Buddha also goes one more step further. He says, although someone is not doing them very frequently, if someone believes the little thing, the small thing he has done is taking him to hell definitely and repents on it over and over again, then undoubtedly he will be going to hell because of his wrong mental viewpoint, because of the belief of the wrong teaching. So, therefore, that mental inclination is more important in deciding whether you go to hell or not. So, after saying that, the Blessed One says, I too ask my disciples to observe precepts. But when I ask them to observe precepts, I tell them, refrain from killing, refrain from taking what is not given. And the word I am using is refrain from. So when I say refrain from, and it's a choice to them. They can either do it or don't do it. And an intelligent disciple will see why he's saying refrain from. So if I don't do it, and it will be beneficial for me, that is why he's asking me to refrain from it. So therefore, if someone has been doing it for some time, and once he hears the word refrain from, he sees that there is an opportunity to escape from the bad thing he has been doing. There is no 100% definitive answer that you will go to hell on highway, right? Buddha is giving an opportunity to the people that although you have done something bad, something wrong, you have a way out. That is Buddha's teaching. So, such a person, if he changes attitude after some time and refrain from doing it, and he will be emitting wonderful aura of loving kindness to the whole world. And that will be his protection. So it is important to have the right mindset. That is what teacher is bringing to the world. That is where everything goes wrong. So Buddha, according to this teaching, we can see he's not stoning the sinner. He's giving everybody an opportunity, equal opportunity to come out of the misery. But if you look at present day, I don't think our education system or social systems or political systems or any other systems we live in, are teaching this type of a thing because they want to maintain the market economy. So if you teach precepts, market economy will go down. So therefore, we have got to be very vigilant in um, living in this society. So when you take this approach to precept, I will give you a classic example. Most of the Buddhists may know this. This is the example of Angulimala. Angulimala, as the name suggests, Anguli means fingers, Mala means a necklace. So he was a man wearing a necklace made of fingers of human beings. He was doing that to please his teacher, who wanted to put him in trouble because of some revenge he had to take from this bright student. But he adhered to teacher's request to get 1,000 fingers, necklace of 1,000 fingers for the teacher. He kept on killing. He was one person who terrorized the entire area where he lived, because he killed people in no time when nobody was able to catch him. And when he had 999 fingers cut and around his neck, he just wanted one more finger, and he was going to get that finger. And during this time, his mother was going in search of him and asking him not to do this thing. So he was going towards the mother, and mother is coming towards him. So Buddha saw this, and Buddha went and disturbed or intercepted him and told him, you are running, you will have to stop. Then Angulimala said, no, you are running, you will have to stop. And the Buddha says, I have already stopped, you stop. And then he realized that there is some message that the Buddha is giving. And his mind came to what he was doing. And then he dropped the idea, and he dropped his sword and ordained as a Buddhist monk under Buddha. And the funny thing is, after ordination, now he's not having a sword, he has just the begging bowl and saffron robe and the shaven head. And to go out and beg food from the people, that is how Buddhist monks live, from what is given by the lay people. So when this person goes onto the street, people stone him, people cut him, people beat him, people don't give food to him, people spit it at him because he has killed so many people. So there are so many enemies to him when he goes onto the street. But what Buddha says is, you walk mindfully, you observe your breath, you observe your body. He says, Bhante, I just can't bear up what people tells me. Just can't bear up the pain in my body when they stone my shaven head. I'm bleeding every time, and on top of that, I have no food. No one is giving me water. Then the Blessed One says, yes, this is the price that you will have to pay for what you have done. If you bear up these things, which means If you just become mindful of those things, if you don't react to them, just observe the pain. If you can't observe walking, if you can't observe the breath because of pain, and the pain is the most prominent thing in mindfulness, what we do is we observe the most prominent thing, you observe the most prominent thing. So when you are bleeding and that agonizing, excruciating pain is what is there, you accept that. You don't try to react to it. You don't try to get rid of it. That does not mean that you don't take any medication. You take medication, but just taking medication will not relieve everything. Still, the pain will be there. So the Blessed One says, keep on accepting, and you will have to do it for some time to come out of it. And come out of it in the sense to change the attitude towards it. Unless you do it now, if you react to what is happening, if you react to these things, then what happens is you are hating the pain that you have. If you hate the pain that you have, what you will develop is not mindfulness. What you will develop is hatred. So if you develop hatred, you have killed so many people. There is a possibility that you will go to the netherworld. If you go to the netherworld, the pain that you will have to suffer there is billion times more than this. So it is better for you to accept the pain now and then change your attitude towards it. And after listening to Buddha, he was accepting all these things. And although he did not receive any food, he just comes with the empty bowl and have some water or take some food from other monks, and he survived. Finally, he attained arahantship. After attaining arahantship, he was named the most glorified arahant. That is the title he was given, most glorified arahant. Murderer turning into the most glorified. That is the ability of mindfulness. That is the ability of the Buddha's teaching. And that is there even today, after 2,600 years. So if you compare Angulimala to you, how many human beings have you killed? None. How many animals have you killed? Hardly any. How many ants have you killed? Not a single intentionally. So you are million times better than Angulimala. So to do this, to walk on this path, what you simply need is only your dedication, because everything else is there. You have wonderful life here. All your requirements are fulfilled. And to walk on the path of the Buddha, it is not necessary to shave head. It is not necessary to have yellow robe. You can do it as a layperson. You can do it while doing what you are normally doing, maybe studying, maybe working, maybe whatever you do, doesn't matter. You can be mindful when you walk. You can be mindful while sitting, as we have done today. In addition to that, you can be mindful of anything: eating, drinking, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, urinating and defecating. You can be mindful of when you have a pain, when you are sitting, maybe your legs will be paining. And when your legs are paining, you may not be able to bring your attention to the breath. When you are walking, you may not be able to bring your attention to the walking process or to the sole of the feet or gather any information. Instead, your mind will go to the beautiful sights you have, or your mind will go to some sounds, maybe while sitting or while walking, or you may have thoughts, no matter whether you mindfully walk or mindfully sit. So you will be disturbed by all these things. But you can be mindful of all the disturbances as well at the same time. Mindfulness means knowing what is present predominantly in that particular point in time. That awareness is the mindfulness and not the object. So if you have that awareness, you are mindful. So if I take this explanation back to the topic of virtue, when you sit and when you walk mindfully today during the day, you have come to this secluded place. It is a very controlled environment to provide conducive conditions to be mindful. So coming here, what you have simply done is you have disciplined your physical action and verbal actions just by coming here only, right? Having the right place to practice. And we have introduced noble silence that has given you a huge opportunity to maintain or to discipline your verbal deeds. So if you have been adhering to these requirements, conditions that we have provided here, then I would like to ask which precept you break. Today, you haven't broken any precept. Just being here, just by walking, just by sitting, or being mindful of any other thing that you have done during the day, you have observed all the 8 precepts, not only just all the 8 precepts, 227 precepts or 311 precepts, you have observed. You maintained your physical and verbal discipline. Maybe you have not seen any information of your breath, in breath and out breath. Maybe you have not seen any information of the walking. Doesn't matter. But just by trying to do that and just being here, although you have not seen being really mindful of what you're supposed to be mindful, mere presence here has allowed you to observe this presence 100%. And my next question is, did you know that? Even if you knew, did you really appreciate it? Most of the time, no. We are addicted to gaining something. We are addicted to achieving something. So our mind is always looking for things that we haven't done. So therefore, during the discussion, there were questions, there were instances where you were talking about the negative side, that you were not able to see the breath, or you were not able to bring your attention to walking and the negative side. But instead, if you can see the other side, by being here, I have adhered to the 8 precepts I took. Nothing was broken. And if you can be happy with that, the objective of being here today is achieved. So if you put it that way, you can be happy that you have maintained all the precepts. Then you are with the Buddha. That is your protection. That is how You can empower yourself. Buddha doesn't have a magic wand. He takes out our hidden potential and makes you the man you are, and takes you above all other animals. This is the start of being a superhuman. That is how you developed your personality. And that's about the virtue and how trying to be mindful or mindfulness fits in virtue. Just providing the conditions and just trying to be mindful in itself is protecting you from doing wrong deeds. And be happy about it. Be aware of it. No matter whether you can focus and concentrate on your feet or your breath. You are already a good man. Now, what Buddha asked Vajraputta monk was to train in and live by the heightened virtue. So we will see now how we can heighten virtue. How we can heighten virtue is by increasing the number of precepts you take. If you take 5 precepts, you can increase it to 6. If you take 6, you can increase it to 7. If you take 7, you can increase it to 8, as we have done today. And these are the 8 precepts of lay people on a normal day. If you want, you can take 8 precepts that you observe on full moon day every day. Those precepts are a bit different and superior. And if you want, you can take 10 precepts, being a lay person. Difficult, but still you can, right? So like that, you can increase the number of precepts you take, and thereby you protect yourself more. And that provides a huge opportunity for you to advance your mind, clear your mind, and go more into your mind. So that's the first one. That is how you can heighten your virtue. And the second one is, don't take it as a burden. When you take precepts, you take it as a hobby, not it is something that you carry as a cross on your shoulder. Do it happily. Then you heighten your virtue. So this is what happened to Vajraputta Bhikkhu or monk. He had taken it as a burden. He has been thinking about it over and over again. But if he knew that he has been walking, he has been sitting, and he has been protecting all the precepts, then he would have this conversation with the Buddha. But it is very fortunate for us that conversation took place. So we know where we can stand. The other way that you can heighten is appreciate and be happy about your precepts all the time. All the time. Avoid breaking precepts when you have opportunity to break it. Observing precept when there is no opportunity is easy. But if you can avoid breaking them when you have the opportunity to break it, then that is the great personality. I remember when I went to Canada, all my friends arranged a party for me. So in the past, I have been a bit of a naughty boy. So I have been taking all sorts of intoxications, been doing all sorts of, things that is not supposed to do. So they had arranged party with liquor and things like that. Then when I went there, I said, sorry, I don't take liquor anymore. So they asked me, when did you become a dried piece of paper? Then I had to explain my story, and we came to the topic of mindfulness. And I was just talking about mindfulness for about 1.5 hours. And you don't believe, except two of them, there were about 10 or 12 people, except two of them, about 10 of them that day did not drink. Those who, the drinks that they had in their glasses, they went and poured into the sink before my eyes. So, what I'm telling here is, I had the opportunity just to keep my mouth shut and drink because nobody knew I was doing all these things and come here and live as a good boy once again. No, you should avoid breaking them. When you have the 100% ability to break them, that is the personality. You will have to do it voluntarily. Then you heighten um, your virtue. You should not do it just because you are afraid of going to the netherworld, or just because you are afraid of your teacher, or just because your teacher tells you or your parents tell you. You do it voluntarily because it is beneficial for you and it is beneficial to the rest of the world. And if broken by any chance, this is very important. If broken by any chance, don't hide it. Please disclose it to your teacher. Discuss it with your teacher. And that is how this teaching has prevailed for 2,600 years. That is how it does not become a burden for you. That is how you can advance your practice. Remember, there were some children here in Brisbane who were taking drugs, and they came and spoke to me, and they told, by taking drugs, we go to a state that you guys have been trying by meditating for so many years. And I told them, I didn't have anything to argue. I told them, yes, I've taken such a long time, and you go there very quickly with $25. But one thing I will tell you, after another 10 years, I will be living and you won't be. Because today you need 25, and tomorrow you need 50, and after that 75. Because what you do is just little by little killing yourself, and that is why you feel your high, because you can't really get to your senses. Then I told them, if you really want to come out of it, you continue to do it, but do it mindfully. Each and every step you label. You label and do the wrong thing. And after about 5, 6 months, I met these children and asked them, what are you doing? They said, we are going to meditate. And I was shocked and asked, why meditation? You're doing this? No. As you said, we tried to take drugs mindfully, and then we lost its interest. We lost its enjoyment. So now instead of we do that, we are meditating. So that is what the mindfulness does. Even if you do a wrong thing, if you do it mindfully, that mindfulness opens up to the wrong thing that you are doing. And there are plenty of stories like that with me. I'm not going to give all that. And in most of the places, when I go and introduce mindfulness, at least one or two people will come and tell me, Swami Nuansa, Bante, I'm taking liquor in the evening. Is it all right? Should I stop? And what I usually tell is, if you can stop it without any problem, just stop it. Simple as that. But if you can't, it is so difficult, you do it very mindfully, labeling each and every step you do. and then gradually you will stop. And there are people who have done that. They are so proud to say that because of mindfulness, they have been able to stop. So that is heightening the virtue, not that you do it just because you're afraid of something. You empower yourself, you empower your personality, and observe the precepts. And keep in mind that precept is not the end goal in mindfulness. Precept is just the stepping stone to the final wisdom. So therefore, if you break a precept, it's not a crime. You always have an opportunity to correct yourself because Buddha is not stoning the sinner. He's always appreciate the potential the human being has to correct himself, no matter what mistake he has done. So the another important thing is I want to tell you a small story that only wise people can protect precepts. If you are not wise, it is very difficult for you to protect precepts. So during Buddha's time, there was Brahmana. Called Brahmana means the high class person in India those days, called Sonadanda, and he was very well known, and everyone was respecting him. And he was when he was in that in a conference or something, Buddha has been living in the same area, and this high class man has gone to see Buddha with 500 other Brahmins. So when they went there, he was thinking, if the Blessed One asks a question that he cannot answer, I will be really ashamed, and then all these people will not respect me. And then he was a bit reluctant to go, but still he went. And then when he went there, Buddha asked him a question. The question he asked was, if you want to select somebody to lead your clan or lead your team, what are the selection criteria for a leader? Then he has said, he should be a purified pedigree from his generation, should be a very clear and clean one. And he should have very good knowledge of three Vedic teachings, and that is the teaching of Brahmins. And he should not be differently able person. He should have virtue, and he should be having wisdom. So these are the 5 requirements that we consider for someone to become the leader of Brahmins. Then Buddha said, okay, good. And for argument's sake, if I ask you to drop one of these 5 qualities, which one will you drop? Then he has said, no, we can't drop a single, because these 5 qualities are compulsory to become a leader. Then Buddha said, no, I'm not asking you to change. For argument's sake, if you can drop one, which one will you drop? Then with great reluctance and great opposition from the other 500 Brahmins, Sonadanda has said, okay, I will drop the first one. Although his parents are not pure, means all are not, mother and father are not Bhavin, grandfather and grandmother are not Brahmins. If there is some impurity in that, that's fine, so I can drop it. So then there was a big commotion there, because this Brahmin has let everybody else down. Then Buddha has calmed them down and said, no, it is just a discussion, just asking questions and is giving answers, not that it's changing your practices or law. Then Buddha, the second question, second ball is saying, okay, of these four, if you are to drop one, which one will you drop? Then he has said, no way, I'm not going to change anymore because these four must be. And once again, Samara the Blessed One convinced him to drop one. Then he said, although his personality is differently able, but he knows the three Vedic teaching. And if he's having virtue and if he's a wise man, then those three will be sufficient to be a leader. Then the trouble for the Buddha and the trouble for Sonadanda Brahmin was increasing now, because both of them are letting the entire Brahmin clan down. And then once again, both of them, since they were leaders themselves, they were able to calm them down. And then after calming them down, Buddha put the next ball also. After these three, which is Vedic teaching and virtue and wisdom, if you have to drop one, which one will you drop? Then Sonalanda has said, even if you don't have Vedic teaching, if you are virtuous and wise, then we can select him as a leader. Then Buddha said, okay, well, good, I accept that as well. And then the final ball, Buddha is asking now, Sonadanda, of these two, virtue and wisdom, which one will you draw? Then Brahmin Sonadanda says, if a person is not virtuous, that person is not wise. If a person is not wise, he is not virtuous. So for someone to become virtuous, he should be wise. For someone to become wise, he should be virtuous. And none of these two can be taken away. They are interlinked. The Blessed Ones well said. This is exactly even what I would say. If a person is virtuous, that person is wise. So if a person is wise, that person is virtuous. So today, what I want to tell you is, you people are wise because you people are virtuous. So when you become virtuous, you naturally become wise people because you have a clear mentality to correct, to select what is correct and what is wrong. So hope this talk has helped you to straighten your view on virtue and how mindfulness, or not really mindfulness, but trying to be mindful, helps you to protect your physical and verbal days. So may you have the faith in changing your attitude towards virtue and be happy. May this retreat be a haven to gain that happiness of observing your precepts. Thank you very much for listening. And in the next one, we will see how we can heighten our mind. Thank you again. Blessings of the Noble Triple Chain. Be happy.